that is moving into the last question, and then I'm going to open the floor, and I want to hear questions, actually.
Okay.
She's ready.
All right. So what advice do you give young artists, entrepreneurs, to ready themselves to find their mentor? Or what does it take for them, for an artist or entrepreneur to be ready? What should they have? What should they know? What should they be ready, prepared for as they find a mentor? Go ahead,
Let me jump into that one because I'll let these artists, who have probably more specific things to say. The first thing I wrote down when I got here was know what you want. It sounds like the simplest thing in the world, but that ultimately is the foundation of everything that motivates you, how you make your decisions, and knowing what you want. And it's something that will evolve. It will get more refined, over time. A good mentor will help you get clear on that. But to start with that in mind, even if today it's I just want a mentor, that's one step closer to where you want to go. And I think whether that's your artwork or your life or whatever, that kind of challenge to yourself is to take that step back and say, well, what is it I really want here? Will make such a huge difference, because otherwise you can get caught up in a lot of things. You can be spinning your wheels all day long, but until you stop and say, no, this is what I want, you can get refocused and go after it. You're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to be happy with where you get, probably.
First thing, know what you want. Yes, Dan.
The artist, depending on what you're looking to get out of it, you would definitely want to know what you want. But I think you should also figure out what you can bring to the relationship as the mentee, or the apprentice, or whatever word you want to use. You got to figure out this relationship, because it's going to be a relationship. It shouldn't be totally one-sided. I mean, now there's definitely different areas where maybe you're paying to be mentored, and it should be one-sided because you're paying for it, and that you want to get what you get out of it. But I would say that most mentor relationships probably aren't going to be like that. They're going to be mutually beneficial. So for the artist to looking for the mentor to be confident that, hey, I've got this skill set that I'm pretty solid on, and I can bring these things to the table, will help in finding the right person. You're kind of co-collaborating, or you're collaborating with that person. So, figure out those skills that you have to bring to the table, as well as the style, the medium that you're working in, and why you're doing it. That's the really hard question that I've come across for a lot of artists. Why are you an artist? And they usually will tell you what they do, or inspirations they've had, and answering that question is not easy, of why you do it. And some artists don't even really know why they do it, but they know they have to do it, and they know that that's the thing that they can contribute best to society, or that's the thing that they emotionally can handle with themselves. So, figuring that out is going to make that easier for the mentor to guide you and give you the proper motivation where you need it, when you need it.
Got something to add, Flavor Day?
I'll say specifically for the artist, you should always have more than one mentor anyway, but specifically for the artist, I would suggest, in my opinion, I think it's a good idea to know where you want to go with your art, as far as medium and technique, and just getting better as the artist. You need to have an idea of, find those artists whose technique and styles that you like, or you want to take things from. Get to know those artists if you can. If not, follow them and see how their process and works, and how their art is developing. If you want to, try to emulate that type of person. But as far as the business side, it's always good to know someone, someone like Mike perhaps, who has that business experience. Or if you can find an artist who has their business together, hey, it's all good. That's even better. But have as many mentors as you can. Never have too many, I think, unless you have too many that you're never creating anything. Right. You're constantly running around asking people questions. You never.
Sooner or later, you have to be you.
You have to create the work. But I would say find artists you want to follow, and that will take care of the visual side, the artwork side, and the other half, find someone who you can get solid business advice and career advice from.
A couple of things, since I've had a chance to think on it. From the artist side, the two things I wrote down is bring an open mind because you never know where that spark is going to come that, oh, I've been doing this technique or I've been following this particular thread in my art and in my inspiration, and with an open mind, something may trigger what's really, where you're really going to click. I think the other thing is, as tough as this is check your ego. When you go in and have that conversation, do not be defensive. It's not about defending your work in most cases. It's about getting their opinion, and it's their opinion, as you mentioned. So, as much as you can, try to check your ego. You can, after that meeting's done, you can go home and beat your head against the wall and rant and rave, whatever you want to do. But in that meeting, they're giving you their opinion, and you can take it or leave it. So that's for the artist side. From the mentor side, I think, it's like, how do you provide that value to them? Well, in a lot of cases, they're doing it because they want to give back. They've had some success. They've had somebody who's done this for them. So that's all they want is to know that they have a chance to give back, or knowing that they get satisfaction from doing that. So there's not something necessarily that you have to return to them or wash their car or get their dry cleaning, that type of thing. That might be on their list. I don't know.
Yeah, that might help.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You could do that.
More like an intern type thing?
Which could be.
I was going to say, all the terminology is fuzzy. Whatever works, it works. But in most cases, those folks who are willing to tell you about it and who are worth talking to are folks that, they love to see somebody who's out there trying and want to see you succeed. So, don't beat your head on the wall trying to figure out a way for you to add value to them, because sometimes it's just a very intangible thing.
I'm about to open the floor, and I want to just reiterate the open mind and check your ego, because it leads to excuses, and I hear a lot of excuses.
Right.
A lot. When I deal the artists that I deal with, some of the people I deal with, they have an excuse on why something is not done as we discussed the time before, and that leads to my disappointment. Because it's like, wait a minute, I thought you wanted it. I know what I want, and I'm gonna have to deal with it and handle it, and so should you. So that's all.
Good point.
Cool. Does anybody have any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just to kind of clarify, I would like you guys to provide some simple and easy steps to getting clear on what exactly you want. Like, how have you asked those questions of really discovering what you wanted for yourself and kind of elaborate on it?
Right. What immediately comes to mind for me is, what things do you get lost in? That time means nothing. That to me that's how I want to spend my time. To me, as a coach, I love it. That's what I like, is that interaction. It's sitting with somebody. I could do it literally for hours, and so that was a clue to me that that's something that, hey, not only have you got some practice at it, you've gotten fairly good at it, but maybe that's what you ought to be doing for a living. Doing something you really like. I can imagine for an artist, you've got certain techniques or certain materials that you like to use or themes that you like. So it's paying attention to what really turns you on, where you get lost in time, and it's not a chore.
Yeah.
That to me is the biggest clue. And sometimes it's not obvious. It's hard when we all have our own blinders on, and we don't always see what it is that we really enjoy. So sometimes asking your family member or somebody who's close to you to say, what do you think I'm really excited about? When sometimes that helps, just to have somebody else tell you what it is that you really should be doing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, and even in the positions where you say you take on an internship and it's not necessarily a traditional mentor-mentee relationship, and you're working for somebody, you're doing stuff that you feel, well, this isn't really related to being an artist. I'm just sweeping the floor. I'm just, putting a coat of paint on the wall or whatever. Those situations, like, you still have the opportunity to think. And for me, it's always been, what are the thoughts that I'm thinking most prevalently, and which ones of those do I take actions on? And write it down. And that's what I would say is the best piece of advice I could give, is write down your thoughts, or have a voice recorder app on your phone or something. And when you feel creative flow, I mean, that's inspiration come in, and you have a thought or an idea about, it could be an avenue of art you want to try, a specific piece you want to try, a new medium, or whatever it is, or simply continuing what you've done. When you have those moments of intense inspiration, always record them, because those moments don't come all the time. I mean, for artists, they do come frequently, and they should come often, but it's not going to be 24/7. There's going to be the moments where you feel like I have no creativity at all, I'm dry, I got nothing. Have that notebook where you can go, boom, I remember that, I wrote that down, and then the feeling might come back, it might not. And that helps you kind of hone it down. I like to make spreadsheets. I like to, make lists, categorize things.
You are an engineer, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in order to really, truly figure out, and then those when you really hone it down, it's the things that you get lost in. I think you hit it. And time is no issue. Money is no issue. All that matters is that you create what you want to create and do. And it's when you find that everything else in your life feels okay. And everything makes sense that why you're doing this. Even if you're not, getting the big commissions, or you didn't get accepted for this award or whatever, when you have that feeling of I'm doing the right thing, I've discovered what I want to do, it's invaluable. There's nothing better.
And the tricky part is it's a moving target, because that may be it for a couple of years, it might be it for a week, it might be it for 20 years, and then the next day you're like, I found something new, or I don't want to do that anymore. And you may have another period of trying to find what that next thing is that triggers you. So it's constantly being vigilant about what is it that turns me on, and taking those notes. That it's just a good mental habit. Once you've done it for a while, you kind of step out of yourself and say, oh, I was really having fun there. Then that gets easier for you to catch yourself doing things you really love, and because it'll change. I mean, life changes and circumstances change, and you mature, and so what inspires you today will not necessarily inspire you 3 years from now.
That's why I feel like writing it down is so good, because even day to day, and you may, right before you're going to have a conversation with your mentor, have things in your head, and then the time comes and you have emotions, you're hesitant about certain things. Maybe your wording isn't always perfect. Where I feel like it may be just vocalizing, and it may not be writing, it may not be a spreadsheet, but figure out the thing that's going to help you remember what you want to ask, and figure out the things that allow you to hone it to get the specific answer that you truly desire. Because if you go into it thinking, I've got 50 questions I want to ask, and each one of those could lead to another 50 questions, because that's how it always works out. You don't hit all the topics that you might want to hit on. You don't always get to the root of what you're really trying to figure out. For me, it's writing it down. It's making the spreadsheet. It's vocalizing it. That always helps me remember it, and also figure it out kind of to the root. To figure out what's at the base of it all.
Dave, anything?
No,
they covered it all?
Yeah, I think they covered it all.
I want to say a couple of things that, as an artist, we're emotional. Artists are emotional people, and everything's about a feeling, and feelings change. That's one thing. So you may get the feeling out of sculpting for a few years, and then get that feeling when you try drawing, and so on. And so it's good to ask yourself if you really like it, if you really enjoy it, and then go for it and try it. But it's not going to be an answer that's going to stay forever. It's going to be an answer that's going to change as time goes on. But you have to always make sure that it's not a chore. If you start feeling like it's a chore, then you need to move on past that.
And it may just be taking a break. You may not be like, hey, it's over. I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
Take a break for a while. Try it again a little later.
Go do a pastel drawing, and then come back to the graphic design.
And then I'm going to mention W again, because he is one of my secret mentors.
Secret mentor?
Yeah.
Giving away. Super cape. Oh, super.
I
was thinking super mentor.
Do we
I ask him a lot of stuff, and
discuss secret mentors?
no. But he always giving me advice, and I don't ever ask it. A lot of times I don't ask it, and then sometimes I do ask for stuff that I need to know. and he's always open to discussing stuff.
Well, I think the other interesting thing from a mentor side is that once you kind of